Hey guys, it's Marshall Mathers IV here, back to you today with another video. And in this video I just want to talk about the fact that I really hate white people who got to be raised in black communities or even in the hood. And before I start out this video, I just want to say really quickly here that this is the last video of things that I hate, or videos. This will be the last video of things that has to do with things that I hate, and I would just rather get this out of the way so I can make videos about other topics or content or whatever. But anyways, I want to start out this video by saying that when it comes to white people, white Americans or whatever, who got to be raised in black communities or even in the hood, as I really wished and wanted to be myself and wish I could have been, those certain specific white people or white Americans do think of themselves as being cool or dope, in other words. And honestly, I have to hand it to them because they are. I mean, in my personal opinion, when it comes to white people that I myself think are cool or dope and pretty much on the same level as like black Americans, inner city black Americans, would in fact be white people who got to be raised in their communities, in their neighborhoods. And of course, these white people are able to go to their schools, maybe, or perhaps even go to their churches. When they grow up and become teenagers, whatever jobs they get, especially if it's in an inner city, they're probably gonna work with a lot of black Americans to the point where they're gonna kind of, I guess you would call it, talk black or act black themselves as white people. I mean, when I think of any white people who were privileged enough of being able to raised in the same communities as black Americans, I mean, obviously it makes sense that the grammar or the accent or the slang that black Americans have and use a lot would rub on at least on those white American people specifically. And, you know, honestly, I don't think that many white Americans are cool. I mean, if I'm just going to be honest and straightforward here, I really don't think that many of them are cool. I mean, even one of the very few white American people that I do think is cool and dope or whatever is someone like Eminem. He's a perfect example of a white guy who I would consider to be like on the same level as like a black man or a black rapper or whatever. And I mean, he was raised in a very black city, being Detroit, Michigan. He was raised literally in the blackest city. Detroit is 90% black. And most of his friends also are obviously black, even to this very day. And when you listen to him talk and when you hear his voice, he definitely doesn't sound like the normal, everyday, average, ordinary white guy in America. Especially a white guy who was raised in like the country or even a predominantly white, smaller, medium-sized town. He has a very deep voice because he was just surrounded by black people most of his life. And I mean, of course, he does have other friends who are probably white and maybe even friends of other races, but most of his friends are in fact black. And I mean, it just honestly makes me envious and jealous of him, at least in that way that he got to be raised in a place, brought up in a place where there was a lot of black Americans, where he was able to even eventually have and get a lot of black friends for himself. And it's like, I wish that would have happened to me. I wish that would have been the case of my life. And I mean, it's also kind of funny that white Americans who are even raised in very big cities where there's a lot of diversity, and for that matter a lot of black Americans, even then, even if they're not raised in the hood or raised in their neighborhoods, even if they just simply go to school with them, work at jobs with them, and when they're just like out in walking around the city or whatever, just being in the physical presence of them a lot, maybe interacting with them and making friends with them or whatever, and maybe they have friends that they sometimes go over to their house and hang out with that are black. And so even when it just simply comes to white guys who are or were raised in cities, they're going to think of themselves as just being so cool and dope. And honestly, they kind of are, because they were able to be around and surrounded by a lot of inner city black Americans, and also like other races of people who have also other cultures, different from white Americans. And you know, it's also kind of interesting and fascinating that even like when it comes to really any inner city race of people, like even when I think of a lot of, not all of them or most of them, but still a good amount of them, like inner city Mexican Americans, I mean, a lot of them are in gangs, and a lot of them have like their own kind of like gang words they use, or slang or accent or grammar or whatever. And I mean, black Americans raised in the country or even in a small medium-sized town, I feel, or even other races or cultures of people raised in countries either most of their life or for a big chunk of their life, or small medium-sized towns, are probably not going to be as street, if you will, if you get what I'm trying to say here. And like even white Americans talk differently who are raised in cities than ones who were raised and brought up in the country or in small medium-sized towns that are predominantly white. I mean, at least that's how I feel. I could be wrong, but personally, from what I know, that's just how I feel. And it just really pisses me off that even some white Americans are raised in black communities or even in the hood, and they're able to have the opportunity and chance to kind of become street themselves or become hood and make friends with a lot of black people. And obviously they probably get beat up by a lot of them and like chased by a lot of them, or even have their lives threatened by a lot of them, but that doesn't mean that they're not ever going to make or have any black friends. I mean, even when it comes to someone like Eminem, he was chased a lot and beat the shit out of a lot when he was growing up by, of course, a lot of black men. But, or black guys, I mean, when he was a kid. But then he eventually came to have and make friends with black people. The first of which being Deshaun Holton, aka Big Proof, which was his stage name. And it's also interesting because Big Proof, which was Eminem's best friend, was the very first black friend he ever made friends with. The very first one. after years of being picked on and bullied and beat up by a bunch of black guys who I assume were probably around his age, and also who chased him a lot because of his skin color, or because of the pigment of his skin, and because he was, of course, of a totally different race, being a white guy. And that's one of the main reasons why he was picked on and bullied and chased and beat up. But still, he eventually was able to come to have a lot of black friends, and I mean like a lot. And he was raised in, literally, like I said, the blackest city in America. I mean, Detroit, Michigan is literally regarded as the blackest city in all of America because it's 90% black. I mean, it's predominantly black. I mean, I'm sure there are some white people there, of course, because the other 10% is probably white people, Mexican people, maybe some Muslim people. I don't know, maybe some Asian Americans. Maybe a little mixture of those certain races being the other 10%. But even just knowing that Detroit is 90% black is just honestly crazy to even think about and realize. And, you know, it just frustrates me that certain white people have got to be raised in the kind of environment and also life that I myself always wanted to be, which was, of course, in a black community. I, for so long, have longed and yearned to be raised in a black community for so many years of my life, and it has caused me a lot of pain and suffering, torment and torture, emotionally and mentally, and it has honestly taken a very extreme, severe toll on me because of how badly I wanted to be and how much I wish I could have been raised in a black community, even since I was a kid. But even if I wasn't and didn't have that opportunity or chance, I would have still loved being raised in a city where there were a lot of black Americans and other races of and cultures of people, and I could have gone to a school that had a lot of them. I mean, that would have been awesome. I would have loved to at least have gone to maybe or perhaps an all-black school, or predominantly black anyways. And I also would not have minded going to a black church at all. I would have been very interested and fascinated in attending an all-black church and seeing what it would have been like and how I would have felt. And of course, when I would have came into my teens and got a job, I would have probably worked at a place where there would have been like a good amount of black Americans that I would have been like working with. And I don't know, like knowing that even certain white people have those like opportunities and chances and experiences that I have missed out on myself, that I have been deprived and robbed of myself, just, it frustrates me, and it makes me frustrated in myself mainly, and it makes me, honest to God, hate myself that I am not able to, and wasn't able to in the past, go to where I wanted to be and live where I wanted to be, whether in the city I wanted to live in, be with the people that I wanted to be with, live in the area that I wanted to live in. Like, it just has frustrated me for so many years. I mean, even ever since I was 15, honestly, I've been just frustrated in myself, or with myself, and I've began to even hate myself. And not just as of right now, but even back then, like, I just felt like, why can't I do what I want to do? Why can't I go where I want to go? Why can't I be with the people I want to be with? Why can't I live in the area that I wish I could have lived in, or that I wanted to for so many years? But wasn't able to. And I also didn't really ever have support in my life growing up. I never had anyone to like depend on, or to like give me a boost, or to like help me out in where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be. Like, nobody in my family cared, especially not my parents. They did not care about what I wanted or what I felt like I needed in life, because either they didn't think that I needed it deep down inside or wanted it, or that they themselves simply didn't want the things for me that I wanted for myself, or they didn't need the things from me that I needed for myself. They didn't want to help me out. They didn't want to support me or back me up. They didn't want to give me a boost or give me a lift, so that I would have had a better chance at eventually going where I wanted to be and live and make things happen for my life. But I wasn't able to do that. And for just so many years, I've been so pissed off at myself and frustrated, angry at myself, and just outright hate myself, because, I mean, I literally just feel like such a failure and such a screw up and fuck up in my life. And I know that the only reason I'm still living with my parents at the age of 23, almost 24, is because I didn't take control and action of my life earlier when I was younger. And because of my own stupidity and failures, that's why I'm pretty much still stuck and trapped and just imprisoned in the area that I'm still in. As much as I wish I could get out and go out into the world and just do things and gain things for myself, but I'm not able to, because of my unfortunate circumstance in life and my shitty life situation that I literally don't know what to do anything about. Like, I don't know what I could possibly do to fix my situation or circumstance. I don't know what I could change about it. I don't know how to make it better. Like, when I look at it from at least a realistic point of view, I just, like, I don't know what to do. And I've known for so long, even since I was a teenager, I've known that nobody is going to help me get what I want or need in life. Not even my parents, who brought me into the world. And if I want something, or if I need something, that I have to go out and get it myself. Even since I was a teen, I knew that. And I felt that too. But I didn't want, like, when it comes to, like, the city of Grand Rapids, I didn't want to walk all the way to Grand Rapids from, like, Greenville, Michigan, walk all the way to Grand Rapids. I mean, that would have taken so damn long. I mean, that would have just been such a crazy, insane long walk. And I mean, I don't know if anyone else would do something like that. I mean, I will say this, that I did think about it as a teenager. I literally did think about just outright walking all the way to Grand Rapids if I had to. I mean, I literally thought about that a lot and contemplated that thought or idea in my head a lot. But then I eventually was like, I'm not going to do that. And I know I wouldn't do that, especially because, I mean, I would have probably wanted to bring some things, like a bag of clothes or something, but I would have been looked at funny and weirdly by other people in their cars just driving by. I mean, they would have probably laughed at me and made fun of me, and, you know, it would have just looked strange. Like, why is this guy have this duffel bag on his back? Or what, or in his hand? Like, where is he walking to? And I don't know, I eventually just gave up the idea to walk all the way to Grand Rapids. I do think I could have done it if I really wanted to, especially when I was younger. And I mean, I still am young and I could still do it now if I wanted to. But now it's even more difficult because of our stupid, retarded, idiot governor, Governor Whitmer, who's running the state of Michigan straight into the ground, doing lockdowns for one, and literally forcing people to wear masks. So we have two things going on in our state. Lockdowns, making it impossibly hard and difficult for people to make money and make a living. And that's just going to cause businesses to force to close and shut down and maybe even go out of business. And we have to wear masks. And it's not even like masks actually prevent a supposed virus that's floating in the air. And I mean, there's already like so much scientific proof and evidence that masks don't do shit. They don't do shit. There have been tests and studies done by doctors and scientists that say masks are pointless. They're unnecessary. But of course, liberals don't listen to the truth. They don't listen to facts. They only listen to themselves. And it's just annoying. And so it's like, I mean, what would the point of me walking to Grand Rapids now? Like, what would that do for me? How would that benefit me now, knowing that pretty much this entire state is in lockdown? I mean, it wouldn't make sense. And on top of that, it's winter time, so now it's cold. But I would still do it, probably, if I was really angry enough and if I really wanted to do it. But also, again, we have lockdowns and we have the stupid like mask wearing nonsense that's going on in our state. So I don't see what the point of me walking there now would do. What good would it do for me? I don't think it would do anything. But I don't know, like, I'm just trying to help you guys understand my point of view and where I come from. And like, when I see that even so many white people have been raised in cities who got to just pretty much live among or alongside Black Americans, go to school with them, maybe sometimes go to some of their neighborhoods, maybe they have like a friend from a certain black neighborhood or something like that, or they work at jobs with them, or they go to church with them. And these certain specific particular white people, for so many years of their life, have just been living the life that I always longed and yearned for myself. And I don't know what else to say about it. And like, it just pisses me off. It makes me angry. It makes me very envious and jealous of those white people. And I mean, another white rapper who sadly died 2 years ago, being Mac Miller, rest in peace Mac Miller, he was another perfect example of a white rapper who I would have thought, man, he's dope. He's cool. For a white guy, and I do have a lot of white movie stars that I do think are cool, that I look up to, that I think are awesome or whatever. But like, just when it comes to normal, everyday, average, ordinary white people, I don't think there's anything that interesting or fascinating about my race of people. No offense to them, but I just honestly don't think there is that much cool things about us to be like prideful about, or to show off, or to be boastful about, or to brag about. And like, me personally, I feel like, I mean, what kind of culture do even white Americans have? It doesn't even seem like we have any. We as a race, in my opinion and from what I see, seem just very average, very dull, boring, lifeless race of people. But then when I look at Black Americans, I see a race or group of people that are full of life, literally full of life, and that love living and that enjoy their time on the earth, that they're alive and however long they live. And I mean, they live it up, and they live every moment and every day like it's their last. And I've never really seen that in really any other race of people like I have Black people. But like I said, Mac Miller, he's another perfect example of a white guy who was raised in what seems like Black City or whatever, or Black Town, and he also had a lot of Black friends, just like Eminem. And honestly, one thing I even like about Mac Miller, he looks a lot like Eminem. If you look at young pictures of Eminem and look at photos of Mac Miller, they do look like pretty much exactly alike. It's crazy and insane how much they look alike. I mean, they even kind of sound similar. And I think it's sad that Eminem never collaborated with Mac Miller while he was alive, or never thought to. I mean, I think that's kind of just, I think that's tragic that he never thought to or chose to collaborate with Mac Miller, knowing that he had plenty of time to do so. And he missed out on such an awesome opportunity and chance to collaborate with Mac Miller, who many people even will say is a better rapper than Eminem when it comes to, at least, like, Mac Miller is more, I guess, poetic, or I mean was. Mac Miller was like more poetic or something than Eminem is himself. And you know, obviously Mac Miller had a bunch of albums in his 20s, since he became famous really young, at the age of 19, the same age he released his first album at, in 2011, Blue Slide Park. And I mean, he had a pretty good handful of albums released in his 20s, and I like each one. And it just makes me wish that Eminem himself would have released as many albums as he could have in his 20s himself. And also, I definitely wish that Eminem would have released more albums in even his 30s, because when Eminem has released most of his albums have been in his 40s, which I find kind of crazy. I mean, he released the Marshall Mathers LP2 at the age of 41, and then Revival at 45, also Kamikaze at 45, almost 46, and then he released Music to Be Murdered By at the age of 47, and then the B-side deluxe edition at the age of 48. And so that's 5 albums that Eminem released in his 40s, when he only released 3 in his 20s, the Slim Shady LP at 26, Marshall Mathers LP at 27, the Eminem Show at 29, and then he only released 3 albums in his 30s, being Encore at the age of 32, Relapse at the age of 36, and Recovery at the age of 37. I mean, he didn't release that many albums in his 20s or 30s, but he released like 5 in his 40s, which honestly is just insane. But you know, I'm kind of getting a little bit off topic here, but I'm trying to make sense. I know it may be hard for you guys to follow me in this video, but I'm just trying to make as much sense as I can here. And I'm sorry if what I say doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry if what I'm trying to say has you guys scratching your heads in confusion, and that you don't get or see where I'm coming from or what I'm trying to say. And honestly, it just makes me really envious and jealous and angry, frustrated, and full of hatred that I see so many white people who even just simply live in cities that have had black friends since they were kids and teenagers, when I never did myself. And I'm almost 24. And I feel old. I feel old for someone who hasn't had that many opportunities or life experiences myself growing up compared to most other people. I don't know, I just literally feel old for someone who hasn't, if that makes any sense. Because there's so many things and life experiences I've just been really deprived and underprivileged of, robbed of, missed out on, compared to so many millions of other American people. And I mean, but again, this is the last video I'm going to do that has to do with people I hate. And after this video, I plan to make videos about other shit that's completely different and opposite from this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to making the videos that I plan to right after this one, the next day. But I mean, I know, like, my feelings aren't good, and I would even go as far to say they're not reasonable, but I wish people would at least understand the way I feel and just understand where I'm coming from. I wish they would see my point of view, see things from my perspective, which would help them better understand me, and it would help people better get where I'm trying to come from and what I'm trying to say in my videos. And I mean, to be honest, I don't think I'm that cool of a person either. As a white guy myself, no, not at all. I think I'm an idiot. I mean, honestly, I think I'm a moron, a loser. I think I'm a fool. I think I'm stupid. I think I'm retarded. And I do think that I would have probably thought of myself as a cool person if I would have been raised in a city and would have experienced a lot of diversity, especially if I got to live amongst black Americans and kind of had some of their culture or whatever kind of rub off on me. Then, and maybe then, I would have thought I was cool. Because I see so many white people in cities who think they're cool. And you know, they don't just have to think they are. A lot of them don't even say it. They're not going to just say they're cool. Nobody really does, because that's lame. But they just simply are. Because they were around so many different races and cultures of people that they got to experience growing up, that they got to interact with physically and socially, and got used to, familiar with, and normalized to, and made friends with or whatever. And it just gives those certain specific white American people just a much fuller life, a much fuller and complete life, because they were able to have more experiences instead of someone like me who had a very limited amount of life experiences myself, a very, like, just small, minuscule, tiny amount of life experiences, which is another reason why I'm just so angry and bitter, and why for so many years I have longed and yearned to want more, because I haven't had that much. I haven't had that much excitement in my life. I haven't had that much to look forward to. But I don't know, but I'm kind of running out of things to say in this video, so just let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I'm out.